film today here is called Life Stinks. It was released in 1991. It's a Mel Brooks film. So if you know Mel Brooks, he's got a lot of comedy, satire feel to a lot of his movies. And this one definitely has some of that as well. It's rated PG-13. It's a comedy and a drama kind of mixed. It's definitely going to have comedic elements with Mel Brooks. It's very much a Mel Brooks film. He wrote it, he directed it, and he's starring in it as well. But don't let that turn you off, because I think it's a good one here. Let's go into it a little more. Well, we meet our protagonist, Mr. Bolts, later referred to as Pepto, on the streets. He was a rich businessman who doesn't really kind of care about people and just money. They kind of emphasize that in the first few scenes. He wants to buy a slum area of LA, but half of it's owned by his rival. Mr. Carlson, his rival, challenges Bolts to live in the slums with nothing for 30 days. Now, Bolts, kind of being a little bit, self-centered, he believes he can do it, so he accepts it. And he's stripped of his wealth, and now he just must live on the streets. Rough for Bolts, living on the streets. The streets are full of danger. I think they do a pretty good job of portraying some of those dangers. He can't find a place to sleep. He can't find any food. People are trying to rough him up all the time. It's not good. He's looked down upon everywhere. He struggles a lot, but they find some friends. And this is both kind of comedic and interesting of how Bolts and Pepto kind of navigate the world, find those things that he needs to kind of survive. Bolts kind of begins to kind of care for the few of the friends that he's kind of hanging out with, and they help him kind of navigate that world, and they help him to win the bets. However, Bolts' lawyers that were running his company, he gave him power of attorney, so they kind of turn against Bolts. By Carlson kind of gets them to change, because he's starting to see that Bolts might win, so he gets them to change, to take away the power, to say that Bolts is crazy and he's out of his mind, so they could take over everything. So although he wins the bet, he loses everything, which drives him mad. My favorite scene in this show is probably in the hospital where he's taken. So he's kind of gone crazy from losing the bet and everything. And he gets in there and he sits down and he's kind of just rambling, and he just sits and goes into a rant. He goes, "Life stinks, life stinks." And everybody starts to chant this, because this hospital's a poor hospital. He can't get in. They won't let him, the hospital's full. People are just stuck in there. The doctor comes by and just says, "Oh, give him some medicine." Then he kind of rambles some more, so they just keeps giving more medicine, because the doctor's not really paying attention at all. So they over-medicate him. His girlfriend, from the streets, comes into his bedside and kind of shares the theme of the story. This is roughly speaking, life has a lot of bad moments, but you need to remember the few moments that make it worth living. And she reminds him of some of those moments. And so, in this kind of like Scrooge-like telling, Bolts is a changed man. And he kind of changes the way he sees the world and the people around him. I give this one 3 out of 4 stars. I enjoyed this one, as it had kind of an interesting angle and a touching moral. I recommend it.